Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to the first part of what I'm calling Pip's Christmas Atlantic Adventure. So, I'm doing something a little bit different this week. I'm at work. I'm here in the Lagos Park Hotel in Lisbon, which is just a few miles, like a 20-minute walk down the road from SafeJet's HQ building. The building that houses most of our ground staff, the dispatchers, the schedulers, all our managers and fleet managers and catering and the travel department. All of those people, there's probably like 500 or 600 people who work there. They're just down the road, and this is our standard hotel here in Lisbon. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty good hotel. So today is day one of what is probably going to be a 5-day trip. And what's so different about it is that I'm going to the States, going across to the US, to Wichita, Kansas, to be precise. And why am I going there? Well, I am delivering one of our Hawkers. We are slowly getting rid of our Hawker aircraft. They're getting a little bit old now, a little bit long in the tooth. Still fantastically reliable, sturdy, strong, efficient, and great aeroplanes, but the company has decided that the time has come to start disposing of them. So we started off, I suppose, with about 30 of them. We're now down to, I'm not sure, less than 20 at this point. We're delivering another 3 now back to the States. So we're gradually getting rid of them. So that's what I'm doing this week. So it's quite exciting. It's something I don't often get to do. In fact, I've never got to do this before, take an aircraft back to the States. So we're going to cross the Atlantic in our little aeroplane. So it's good fun. So the plan is, today is day one. All I've done today is come down from home. Got a TAP flight from Heathrow down to Lisbon here this afternoon. So today's a kind of a preparation day. Although, to be honest, by the time we got here to the hotel, it was 5:30 p.m. So really, all I've done is come to the hotel, have a bit of dinner, met up with some colleagues and had a few lemonades. And now it's time to go to bed, ready for the first flying day tomorrow. So let me show you what the plan is, or what we expect at this point. This is very much depending on weather and all that kind of stuff. But I've got this is... Let me see if I can find the right angle. This is Flight Deck Pro, or whatever we're calling it, the Jeppesen iPad tool, which seems to be the bog standard thing in the industry now. Most airlines have got and use this. I know Jeff over at Acme Airlines uses this. I know Nick uses it, and pretty much everyone uses the Jeppesen program. There are others available. We have the AirRad charts as well, which is kind of the European version of Jeppesen, but everyone uses the Jep. I much prefer the Jeps over the AirRads, I must say. It's a really excellent tool. I'll just show you perhaps some of the features. We're looking here at, what are we looking at here? Well, it says VFR chart at the moment, but it's kind of a large scale. So perhaps if I zoom in on the high IFR chart, it's kind of hard to get the angle here. Which way? There we go. Oh man, there we go. You can zoom in. There we go. You can see it starts to become a bit of a mess. There's lots of airways and things. Over here you can select all kinds of stuff: airways, airports, terrain, various scales, all kinds of stuff. Back over here you can select the high IFR charts, the low IFR charts, also the VFR charts, which is a really nifty function. And then of course you can go in and you can see all the airport charts. I don't know why I've got it here, but I've got Palm Springs, California selected. That's the airport chart. I don't know why that's there. I have absolutely no intention of going to Palm Springs. If we end up there, we've certainly gone a bit too far. You can pull up all the approach charts. There we go. There's a... Oh man, this thing's annoying me. There's an approach chart. Looks like an RNAV arrival of some sort. So all the charts are on here. Actually, interestingly, the Jeppesen charts are changing quite soon. We just had a company memo a few weeks ago with an online training module showing all the new styles of the Jeppesen charts. They're quite good. They're going to get much bigger. So instead of this one little chart, some charts are now going to be much, much bigger, over 2 pages. They're decluttering a lot of the charts is what they're trying to do. So they're taking some of the information off, decluttering it, making it much more clearer to see some of these charts. It's quite interesting. There's quite a few changes going on. So we've had a little company training tool, an online training module to show us all the different changes. So I'm looking forward to that, but they don't seem to be active just yet. So let me go back to our plan. So here we are. We're down here in Lisbon. That's really annoying. How can I get that angle? There we go, Lisbon. The plan is to fly up to Keflavik in Iceland, then down to this place in Canada, whose name I've totally forgotten, Gander in Canada, across, wrong way, the world turns that way, then down to Bangor in Maine. Is that how you say it? Is it Bangor or Bangor? I'm never quite sure. But this place in Maine, then down to Wichita, which seems to be almost dead in the centre of the United States. Exciting Wichita, where we'll leave the plane. I don't know what happens to it then. A new owner, I suppose, will be taking it. So we'll be one less hawker, or several less hawkers in this case. Now that's quite a long way of going around the Atlantic, to go all the way from southern Europe up to Iceland, then all the way back down to Canada and across the States. So you may be wondering why we're doing it that way and why we don't just go straight across the Atlantic. That's going to annoy me. So just to go woo straight across that way. Well, a couple of reasons why not. I think probably just eyeballing it, I think we've probably got the fuel to go from Lisbon to go straight out west to the Azores Islands, which is kind of a third of the way across the Atlantic. And then from the Azores we could go up to somewhere in Canada to Gander, possibly even straight up to northeast of the United States, or possibly perhaps across to Bermuda. That would be a lot of fun, going Azores and Bermuda, but there's a lot of ocean in between there. But I think fuel-wise we could do it. But the problem there becomes one of ETOPS, which is extended twin range operations. And basically what that means is, well, we have 120 minutes ETOPS on the Hawkers, which means you can be 120 minutes from an en route alternate airport. So if you've got some sort of problem, an engine failure or a pressurization problem or something else which forces you to need to land to somewhere, then you need to be within, at any point along that route, you need to be within 120 minutes flying time of an en route alternate airport. And unfortunately, the Atlantic is rather devoid of en route alternates. Got the Azores, and then there really isn't much until you start to get to the Caribbean, across to Bermuda. It would be really rather handy if there was another island somewhere mid-Atlantic. I think the airlines would really appreciate that. But unfortunately there isn't. So due to that lack of en route alternates, we're rather forced to go round the top, the old spruce routes, I think they used to call it. Of course, for the much bigger planes, the Airbuses and the Boeings and all the rest of it, it's not a problem because they've got longer ETOPS. I think they probably do 3 or 4 hour ETOPS, so they can go straight across the ocean. For us, though, it's 120 minutes ETOPS. For the Hawkers, I mean, as a company, for our long-range aircraft, for the Globals and the Gulfstreams, it's fine. They've got probably 3 or 4 hour ETOPS as well, so they can go straight across the oceans as well. But for us, it's a longer trek around, but that's fine as far as I'm concerned. That's much more exciting. I'm quite looking forward to this. A nice little exciting adventure up around the north, across the Arctic almost. Of course, this being late December, today's December 20th, I think. As you can imagine, the weather up in that part of the world, up in Iceland and northeast Canada, Newfoundland, is absolutely blooming horrible. Low visibilities, snow and ice, low cloud bases, really pretty nasty stuff. So I've packed my cold weather jacket and a few other bits and pieces. Although I did rather misread the weather for Wichita when I looked yesterday. I went onto the BBC weather website, typed in Wichita, and it said sort of 15, 16 degrees Celsius. I thought, oh, well, that sounds okay. And it wasn't until much later today that I realised that actually it said minus 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. Brr. Much, much colder. Very cold in Wichita. So I'm going to have to find something to keep me warm in Wichita. Now, unfortunately, when we get there, we haven't got much time to spend enjoying ourselves. Only 24 hours, and then I'm getting on a British Airways business class back home to London. In fact, this is quite exciting. I just checked in for my BA flight today. It's on a 747, and I got to book a seat on the upper deck of a 747. I've never done that before, so I'm really looking forward to going on the upper deck of a 747. Quite excited about that. I have travelled on 747s a number of times. I've even travelled business class on a 74 once, but not on the upper deck, so that's going to be fantastic. Do love the 747. So that's on Thursday afternoon. We finish in Wichita. We've got to get an American Eagle flight down to Dallas, Fort Worth, and then the 9-hour flight back home. But actually, this whole route is going to take us... We're going to do it over 2 days. It's quite a lot of flying to do in one day. So the plan is tomorrow, fly up to Keflavik, up here to refuel, and then down to Gander in northeast Canada to spend the night there. So that's probably at least 4.5 hours, depending on the winds, up to Keflavik. I've got to find a better angle. Maybe if I turn this light off. Oh, that's better, is it? No, it still sucks. Yeah, 4.5 hours up to Keflavik, probably about 3.5 to 4 hours across the ocean down to Gander as well. So this is good fun. There's a lot of stuff I've had to revise and familiarise myself with, the North Atlantic procedures. Now, we're not doing the NATS tracks, the North Atlantic track system, which goes, the east-west tracks. Oh, I'm going to give up on this. That goes across the Atlantic this way. So we're kind of north of the track system, but still, there's a lot of oceanic procedures there that I've not looked at or used for quite a while. The HF procedure. So I just had a little read up today, so I should be fairly comfortable with that. So Gander tomorrow night, and then the following day a relatively short flight into Bangor in Maine, and that's mostly just to clear customs. Actually, we need to land somewhere to clear immigration and customs. So Bangor seems like a reasonable place. There's probably 100 other places we could go, but that's what we've chosen. That seems to be the standard route for us. And then from there straight across to Wichita. I don't know how many hours is that. It's probably 3 hours or so. So that's all good fun. Bangor, I mean, that's going to be completely different from me. I've not been there before. Northeastern Canada, cold and snowy. Now, Bangor, we could go there. There's a number of other places up there we could do. Goose Bay is another option. St. John's, I think, is another place. There's actually about half a dozen places we could go, but Bangor seems to be... Gander seems to be the most interesting of them all. There's a couple of nice restaurants there that previous crews have been to, so that seems quite a nice place to go. Now, the one thing that I have forgotten, which I'm really annoyed about, is my Santa hat, or some sort of suitable Christmas hat. I've got a whole bunch of them at home, and I totally forgot to bring them when I packed my bag. I'm really annoyed about that. I can't possibly go all the way up to the North Pole almost in late December and not have a Santa hat on. So I'm going to try and see if I can find a Santa hat somewhere to wear. And I've even brought my big suitcase with me. My normal suitcase is a kind of a carry-on suitcase, but this time I brought my super massive suitcase with me so I can perhaps do a bit of shopping, buy some Christmas gifts over in the States. I said to Isaac, my 7-year-old today, I said, "Hey, anything you want?" And he thought about it for a second. He said, "Yeah, I want a baseball bat." I can't fit a baseball bat in my bag. What else? Oh, one of those American football helmets. No, I can't fit that in my bag either. How about some horrible American chocolate Hershey things? And he said, "Oh, okay, that'll be fine." And Hazel, my daughter, she'll like anything with frozen Princess Anna or something stuck to the front of it, so she should be quite easy. But I'm really looking forward to the 24 hours in Wichita. It's not very long to spend there, but I'm going to certainly make the most of it. I certainly want to eat some great steaks, and I know there's a number of very good restaurants around there. I think we're staying in the Hyatt Hotel in Wichita, which I hear is quite nice. So eat some steaks, perhaps another steak, do a bit of shopping, go to one of these malls and buy some stuff. And I quite like to go to a shooting range, actually. I generally, can't abide guns and that. We have a very different attitude, I suppose, in this part of the world to guns. But hey, when in Rome, go and shoot a 45, a great big Magnum, or a machine gun or something. So I might see if I can find the time to go to a local shooting range and squeeze off some rounds. And and then there'll be time to come home, unfortunately, just in time for Christmas. And just in time as well for the baggage handlers strike at Heathrow, which starts on the 23rd. Excellent, looking forward to that. And also the cabin crew strike on British Airways, which is possibly going ahead around that time as well. Excellent. So 2 strikes to contend with. So the flight back home, I think, leaves on the 22nd, gets in at Heathrow on the early hours of the 23rd. So I've got one kind of spare day in the plan. So if it all goes horribly wrong, I've still got that extra day to be home on the 24th by Christmas Eve. So that's fine. But missing Christmas would be a real disaster. So I don't want that to happen. So, preferably I wouldn't have chosen this week to do this trip. But in fact, it was meant to happen last week, if you followed me on Twitter. Well, maybe I didn't mention it, but I was due to do this trip last week or a week and a half ago, but I don't know, some administrative oversights, it didn't happen, so it's been delayed to this week. But it should be a good fun. Like I say, there's 3 aircraft going across. There's 6 of us, 6 crew members, all going together in 3 aeroplanes, so it should be quite good fun. There's a good bunch of us. We'll go out, we'll hit the bars, drinking lemonades, of course, and Diet Cokes. And, see what the world has to offer. I've been recommended by a previous colleague. He says to me, Pip, when you get to Wichita, you must go to Jezebel's. And I said, oh, whoa, what's Jezebel's? And he said, well, think of Hooters, but much more down market. And I said, yes, that is exactly for me. Jezebel's, we are going to Jezebel's. So steaks, guns, Jezebel's. Look out, USA, the Brits are coming. Well, I think that's it for this little installment. I'm going to continue this video hopefully tomorrow night from Gander. So I'll tell you how the trip went. So hopefully we went Lisbon up to Keflavik, and then down to Gander, where it's currently freezing bloody cold. Minus temperatures, snow and ice and all kinds of nastiness, but should be good fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So hopefully, all being well, I'll catch you again tomorrow night. Bye for now.